I knew something was wrong the night Sarah came home smelling like mango and ocean breeze. Not the kind of scent you'd pick up from a new shampoo or a coffee shop. No, this was subtle, haunting, and out of place. It lingered on her jacket like a whisper, and when I leaned in for a hug, it hit me like a cold wave. I pulled back, my heart already racing. "New perfume?" I asked, keeping my voice light. She blinked, her hazel eyes flickering. "What?" A pause, then a quick laugh. "Oh no. Probably the lift." The driver had one of those tacky pineapple air fresheners. I nodded, like I believed her. Like it added up. Like I hadn't spent the last hour staring at my phone, my chest tight, because my sister Claire posted a beach selfie on Instagram. The caption read, "Solo escape." Just me and the tides. But in the reflection of her oversized sunglasses, blurry but unmistakable, there was Sarah. Her silver bracelet glinting, her favorite navy scarf loose around her neck. I'd begged her to stop wearing that scarf. It was fraying at the edges, but she loved it too much. "My name's Emily. I'm 34, and I used to think I had a sharp mind. I used to trust my instincts. But when your entire family looks you in the eye and calls you paranoid, you start to question yourself. Maybe I was seeing things. Maybe I was too sensitive, like they always said." You good?" Sarah asked, tossing her keys onto the counter with a clink. Her voice was casual, but her shoulders were tense. "Yeah, just tired," I said, forcing a smile. I turned toward the kitchen, my hands trembling. I grabbed a glass from the cabinet, poured some Merlot, and let the sharp tang steady me. She followed, leaning against the fridge like she always did when she wanted to seem at ease. "You're not upset I missed dinner, are you?" she asked, her tone soft, almost playful. "No," I said, staring at the wine. She grinned. "Good. You've been so calm lately." "I like it. You used to be so intense." I sipped my wine and said nothing, just nodded like a good wife. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, Sarah's steady breathing beside me, and replayed every moment of the evening. The scent, her quick excuse, that Instagram post. I slipped out of bed, grabbed my phone, and opened Claire's profile again. I zoomed in on the photo, my thumb shaking. The scarf, the bracelet, the slope of her jaw, it was Sarah. No question. My stomach twisted, but I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I opened a notes app and started typing. Time, 10:47 p.m. Date, February 8th. Sarah came home late. Smelled like mango and ocean. Said it was the lift. Claire's beach post, same day. Reflection matches Sarah's outfit. I saved the note and locked my phone, my heart pounding in the dark. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table, coffee going cold, staring at the note. It wasn't enough. A scent, a photo, a gut feeling, none of it was proof. My family's voices echoed in my head. "Emily, you're overreacting. You're too emotional. You're imagining things." I'd heard it all before, after every argument, every doubt. My mom, Susan, once told me I had trust issues because of some high school breakup. Claire called me dramatic when I questioned her about borrowing money last year. Even Sarah, with her gentle smile, would say, "You're spiraling again." But this wasn't a spiral. This was real. I could feel it in my bones. I didn't confront Sarah. Not yet. I needed something solid, something they couldn't twist or dismiss. I opened my laptop, created a folder called Notes, and moved my phone note there. Then I added another entry. February 9th, 7:12 a.m. Sarah left for work early. Said she has a meeting in Portland. Wearing the navy scarf. I closed the laptop and stood, my reflection catching in the kitchen window. My eyes were tired, but sharp. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't sensitive. I was awake. And I was going to find the truth, no matter how much it hurt. I couldn't let it go. The mango scent, the Instagram post, Sarah's too quick excuse, they gnawed at me like a splinter under my skin. That afternoon, I sat on the couch, phone in hand, and dialed Claire. My heart thumped, but I kept my voice breezy. "Hey, how's it going?" I asked, like I was just catching up. She laughed, her voice bright but sharp like glass. "Oh, work's insane. What's up with you?" I swallowed, picking my words carefully. "Just curious about your beach trip. Looked nice. Where was that, Cannon Beach?" A beat of silence. Then, "Yeah, just a quick getaway. Needed some air." Her tone was too casual, like she'd rehearsed it. "Solo trip, huh?" I pressed, my fingers tightening around the phone. "Saw your post. Looked like someone was with you." Kinda looked like Sarah. Dead quiet. Then a laugh, loud and forced. "What?" Come on. You're joking, right?" "No way. Just some random guy in the background." Her words tumbled out too fast. "You're paranoid again, sis." Classic Emily. I bit my lip, tasting blood. "Sorry," I said, playing along. "Just thought it was weird." Claire sighed, her voice softening. "It's okay, I get it. You've always been intense. After everything, it makes sense you'd jump to conclusions." I nodded, even though she couldn't see me, and hung up. Intense. That's what they called me when I asked questions they didn't like. I opened my laptop, added to my notes. February 9th, 1:34 p.m. Called Claire. Denied Sarah was in photo. Laughed it off. Called me paranoid. My hands shook, but I kept typing. The next few days, I watched everything. Sarah came home late again, claiming a project deadline in Portland. Her car smelled like mango, faint but there, mixing with the leather seats. I found a turquoise hair tie in her glove compartment, bright, cheap, not mine. I don't wear turquoise. I slipped it into a Ziploc bag, labeled it, and added it to my folder. February 11th, 8:19 p.m. Turquoise hair tie in Sarah's car. Not mine. Claire wears bright colors. I didn't tell anyone, not even Jessica, my best friend. I needed more before I opened that door. Friday night, we went to my cousin Anna's house for a family dinner in Salem. The whole crew was there: Mom, Dad, Sarah, Claire, Anna, my brother Mark. I sat across from Sarah, watching her laugh at Dad's bad jokes, her hand brushing Claire's arm once, briefly, like an accident. They barely looked at each other, but it felt deliberate, like they were trying too hard to seem normal. Anna passed me the green beans, her smile tight. "You're quiet tonight, she said, her voice too loud in the chatter. "Just tired," I lied, spooning beans onto my plate. Mom chimed in, her eyes soft with pity. "Still not sleeping well?" I nodded, letting them think I was fragile. Sarah reached for my hand under the table, her fingers warm. "She's been working hard," she said, smiling at me like I was hers. I smiled back, my stomach churning. After dinner, I slipped into the bathroom to breathe. Claire's purse was on the counter, unzipped, careless. I glanced at the door, heart pounding, then peeked inside. Lip balm, keys, a folded receipt from a hotel in Astoria. 2 nights, 1 queen bed, dated February 8th, the same day as Claire's beach post. My hands shook as I snapped a photo with my phone, careful to put everything back exactly as it was. I added it to my notes. February 14th, 9:27 p.m. Found hotel receipt in Claire's purse. Astoria, February 8th. Matches beach trip. I walked back to the dining room, my face calm, my pulse racing. Sarah looked up, her eyes searching mine. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Perfect," I said, and sat down, my secret burning like a coal in my chest. I couldn't keep it inside anymore. The receipt, the hair tie, Claire's laugh on the phone, it was too much, like a weight pressing on my chest. That night, I texted Jessica, my best friend, the one person I knew wouldn't call me crazy. "Can we talk?" I wrote, my thumb hovering over the send button. She called me within seconds, her voice steady through the phone. What's going on?" I took a deep breath, the words spilling out. "I think Sarah's cheating. With Claire." Silence stretched on the other end, heavy and thick. "Your sister Claire?" she finally asked, her tone careful, not judging. "Yeah," I said, my voice cracking. "I've got stuff. Photos, notes, a hotel receipt. But it's not enough." Another pause. "Do you have hard proof?" she asked. "Not yet," I admitted, my stomach twisting. "Then you need it," she said, firm but kind. "You can't go off breadcrumbs. You need the whole damn loaf." Jessica didn't sugarcoat things, and I loved her for it. We met the next day at a diner in Eugene, the kind with sticky tables and coffee that burned your tongue. She slid into the booth, her dark eyes scanning my face. "You look like hell," she said, not unkindly. "Haven't slept," I muttered, passing her my phone. She scrolled through my notes, the photo of the receipt, the zoomed-in Instagram post. "Damn," she said, setting the phone down. "This is bad, I nodded, my throat tight. I confronted Claire, sort of. She called me paranoid. Jessica snorted. "Of course she did. You need real evidence, not this. Something they can't talk their way out of." I leaned back, exhausted. "I don't know how to get it." She sipped her coffee, then leaned in, her voice low. "I know someone. Kate, ex-cop, now a private investigator. Does cyber stuff mostly, but she's sharp. Discreet. She'll get you what you need." I raised an eyebrow, skeptical. "You serious?" Jessica smirked. "Do I look like I'm joking?" 2 days later, Kate showed up at my apartment in Springfield. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a voice like gravel and eyes that didn't blink much. She wore jeans and a plain gray tee, like she didn't care about impressing anyone. I liked that. "You're Emily?" she asked, standing in my doorway. "Yeah," I said, stepping aside. "Jessica told me you need dirt. On your wife and your sister." I nodded, my cheeks burning. "I need proof." She gave a curt nod. "Got money?" "Yes." "Then I've got time." We sat at my kitchen table, the folder of my notes spread out between us. Photos, timestamps, the receipt, my scribbled suspicions. Kate flipped through it quickly, her face unreadable. "Smart," she said. "Most people wait too long to start tracking." I shrugged, unsure if it was a compliment. I didn't want to say anything until I was sure. "Good," she said, closing the folder. "I'll start with phone records, hotel footage, GPS data. Give me a week." She stood, heading for the door, then paused, her hand on the knob. "You sure you want the truth?" I didn't answer, my throat too tight. She nodded, like she already knew, and left. I sat there, staring at the empty table, my heart pounding with something new, not fear, but resolve. A week felt like a lifetime, each day dragging with the weight of waiting. I went through the motions: work, coffee, smiling at Sarah like nothing was wrong. But inside, I was a live wire, sparking with every glance she gave me, every casual lie about her day. Then, on a gray Tuesday morning, I was at my desk in Eugene, sifting through emails when my phone pinged. An email from Kate. Subject: delivery. My heart stopped. I locked my office door, my fingers trembling as I opened it. 6 photos loaded slowly, each one a knife. Sarah and Claire checking into a hotel in Astoria, their hands brushing as they left. Sarah's arm around Claire's waist in the lobby. Claire's head on Sarah's shoulder in a hallway. The last one was the worst: Sarah kissing Claire's neck in an elevator, her eyes closed, like she was lost in it. Timestamp: June 12th. Our 5th anniversary weekend. Sarah had told me she was at a conference in Seattle. I stared at the screen, my vision blurring, my chest so tight I could barely breathe. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, letting the truth sink in, sharp and cold. These weren't guesses anymore. Not paranoia, not imagination. This was real, captured in grainy hotel security footage. My wife and my sister, together, on a weekend meant for us. I forwarded the email to my personal account, then deleted it from my work inbox, my hands steady despite the storm inside. I couldn't let anyone see this, not yet. Back home that night, I printed the photos, the hum of the printer filling the quiet apartment. I spread them across the bed, 6 glossy rectangles staring back at me. Sarah's smile in the lobby, soft and secret. Claire's hand on Sarah's arm, possessive. Their ease, their comfort, like they'd done this 100 times. I studied their faces, memorizing every detail, the way Sarah's hair fell over her shoulder, the curve of Claire's jaw. I wasn't looking for answers. I was looking for strength. Hours passed, the apartment dark except for the glow of my phone. I added the photos to my folder, labeling them June 12th, Astoria Hotel. Proof of affair. My notes were growing, a timeline of betrayal I could hold onto when they called me crazy. I thought about confronting Sarah, imagining her excuses, her tears. Or Claire, with her sharp laugh and quick deflections. But I wasn't ready. Not until I had everything, until they couldn't twist their way out. I needed to be untouchable. The next morning, I called my mom, Susan, my voice calm despite the fire in my veins. I need to talk, I said, keeping it vague. Of course, honey, she replied, her tone warm, oblivious. Come over. I drove to her house in Salem, the photos burning a hole in my purse. She greeted me with a hug, her kitchen smelling of cinnamon and coffee. We sat at her table, steaming mugs between us. I took a breath, my words measured. I think I owe Claire an apology, I said softly. Susan's eyebrows shot up. Really? I nodded, leaning into the lie. I was paranoid about her beach trip. That photo, I let my fears get the better of me. Susan smiled, reaching for my hand. That's big of you, Emily. Admitting you were wrong takes strength. I forced a smile, my stomach twisting. I just want peace, I said, the words bitter on my tongue. She squeezed my hand. We all do. I looked into her eyes, searching for a hint of guilt, a crack in her warmth. Nothing. She believed me. Or maybe she was just that good at pretending. I left her house with a plan forming, sharp and clear. I'd play their game mile, nod, act like the Emily they wanted. But behind the scenes, I'd build my case, brick by brick. I texted Kate, keep digging. She replied, on it. I drove home, the photos still in my purse, my heart heavy but resolute. I wasn't the fragile Emily they thought I was. Not anymore. I was the one holding the truth, and I'd use it to tear their lies apart. I became an actress overnight. Every smile, every nod, every soft word to Sarah was a performance, crafted to keep her in the dark. I couldn't let her see the fire behind my eyes, not yet. The photos from Kate were my anchor, proof that I wasn't imagining things, but I needed more to make them pay. That Sunday, I drove to Claire's apartment in Portland, my heart pounding, but my face calm. She opened the door, her eyes wary, like she expected a fight. Emily, she said, stepping back. I forced a sheepish smile. I owe you an apology. Her brows shot up. For what? I looked down, playing the part. The beach trip. That photo. I was wrong to accuse you. I let my fears take over. She blinked, her guard dropping just enough. Wow, Em. That's big of you. She stepped aside, letting me in. We sat on her couch, the air thick with unspoken truths. I'm trying to be better, I said, my voice soft, more mature. I want to move forward. Claire nodded, her eyes flicking to the side. Good. I want that too. I smiled, my stomach twisting. Tell Sarah I said the same. She flinched, just for a second, but I caught it. Sure, she said, too quickly. I stood, still smiling. See you at Anna's dinner next week. She nodded, and I left, my pulse racing with the thrill of deception. Back home, I played the perfect wife. Sarah came home late again, her navy scarf loose around her neck, and I greeted her with a kiss, my lips cold but convincing. Missed you, I said, handing her a glass of wine. She grinned, oblivious. You're in a good mood. I shrugged, my heart a stone, just trying to be present. We even went to a fake couples therapy session in Eugene, where I let Sarah ramble about her stress at work. I nodded, asked questions, played the concerned partner, all while my mind cataloged her lies. "You're so strong," she said, squeezing my hand as we left. "Most people would have given up." I smiled, my eyes empty. "I'm not most people." Behind the scenes, I was building my case. I texted Kate, my words sharp. "Dig deeper. Check Sarah's finances." Kate replied within hours, "Already on it. Expect something soon." I kept up the act at family dinners, laughing at Dad's jokes, passing the mashed potatoes, letting Mom pat my hand like I was her fragile little girl. But I was watching Claire's quick glances, Sarah's careful distance, Anna's forced cheer. They thought I was tamed, that I'd bought their lies. They were wrong. 2 days later, Kate sent an email. Subject: money trail. I opened it in my locked office, my breath catching. Bank statements showed Sarah had moved $75,000 from our joint account to a business account under Claire's name, labeled Cannon Boutique LLC. The transfers started 6 months ago, small at first, then bolder, like they thought I'd never notice. I stared at the numbers, my anger hardening into something cold and precise. I saved the files, added them to my folder. February 20th, financial proof. $75,000 to Claire's business. Unauthorized. I leaned back, my mind racing. This wasn't just an affair. It was theft, betrayal, a whole life built on my back. That night, Sarah came home, humming, her scarf draped over the couch. "Good day?" I asked, pouring her coffee. "Great," she said, smiling. I nodded, my face a mask. "Glad to hear it." I sipped my own coffee, the bitterness matching my resolve. I wasn't just collecting evidence anymore. I was preparing for war, and they had no idea what was coming. The money was just the beginning, but it cut deeper than the photos. $75,000, siphoned from our joint account, funneled into Claire's boutique like it was nothing. I sat in my office in Eugene, staring at Kate's email, the bank statements glowing on my screen. Each transfer was a betrayal, a brick in the wall they'd built to keep me in the dark. But Kate wasn't done. The next morning, another email landed. Subject: audio. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the link. I locked the door, put in my earbuds, and hit play. My mom's voice, Susan, filled my ears, low and urgent. "We need to keep Emily under control. She can't find out about the trust fund." A man's voice, "Me, Dad." Michael mumbled agreement. "She's too emotional. Always has been." Susan sighed. "If she digs, it's over. For all of us." The recording ended, 30 seconds that shattered everything. I hit replay, then again, each word carving itself into my memory. A trust fund. My trust fund. And they were hiding it. I ripped out the earbuds, my breath shallow. I opened my phone, started recording, and played the audio back, capturing it clean. I labeled the file insurance and saved it to my encrypted folder. February 23rd, 10:15 a.m. audio of Susan and Michael discussing trust fund. Proof of conspiracy. My anger wasn't hot, Anna Maria, it was cold, sharp, a blade I'd wield when the time was right. I wasn't just fighting Sarah and Claire now. My whole family was in on it, guarding their secrets while I played the fool. I leaned back, my mind racing. This wasn't about love or loyalty anymore. It was about power, money, control. And I was done being their pawn. That afternoon, I met Jessica outside Claire's boutique in Portland. We sat in my car, the engine off, watching through the tinted windows. Claire was inside, laughing with a customer, flipping her hair like she hadn't stolen my wife, my money, my life. "Look at her," I said, my voice low. Acting like nothing's wrong. Jessica glanced at me, her eyes sharp. "She's good at it." "They all are." I nodded, my jaw tight. "Not for long." I handed Jessica my phone, showed her the bank statements, the audio file. She scrolled, her face hardening. "Holy shit, Em. This is their screwing you over." I took the phone back. I know. And I'm going to burn it all down. She raised an eyebrow. You sound terrifying. I smirked, but it didn't reach my eyes. I'm just tired of being polite. Inside the boutique, Claire moved to the counter, her smile bright, fake. I imagined walking in, throwing the photos in her face, playing the audio for the world to hear. But that was too easy. I wanted them to feel what I felt: exposed, cornered, helpless. I turned to Jessica. Kate's digging into the trust fund now. If it's what I think, it's game over. Jessica nodded, her voice steady. You're playing chess, they're playing checkers. Just don't lose yourself in this. I looked back at Claire, her laugh echoing through the glass. I won't, I said, but my hands clenched the steering wheel, knuckles white. That night, Sarah came home, her scarf tossed on the couch, her voice light. Long day, babe, she asked, kissing my cheek. I nodded, pouring her wine, my face a perfect mask. Yeah, you. She shrugged, oblivious. Same old. I watched her sip, her ease a lie I'd soon shatter. My anger wasn't just for her Anna Maria, it was for all of them, the family who smiled while they stabbed me in the back. I added to my notes, February 23rd, 8:47 p.m. Sarah home, acting normal. Trust fund confirmed. I closed the laptop, my resolve like steel. I wasn't just burning their house down. I was salting the earth. The plan took shape like a storm gathering strength. I wasn't just collecting evidence anymore, I was orchestrating a reckoning. Every lie, every stolen dollar, every whispered secret would come crashing down, and I'd make sure they felt the weight. I started with the venue, a high-end restaurant in downtown Portland, all candlelight and polished wood, perfect for a staged celebration. I called the family, my voice warm, inviting. It's my birthday next week, I said. I want us all together. No drama, just love. Mom, Susan, jumped at it. That sounds wonderful, Emily. Sarah agreed, her tone soft, unsuspecting. Claire hesitated, but said yes. They thought I was broken, tamed, ready to play their game. They were wrong. I met the restaurant manager 2 days later, a sharp-eyed woman named Carla. I slid an envelope across her desk, cash for privacy and precision. I need your staff to follow specific instructions, I said, my voice steady. Some won't be staff. She frowned, then opened the envelope, her eyes widening. Got it, she said, no questions asked. I hired a videographer next, a quiet guy named Tom, telling him it was for a birthday video. I gave him exact directions where to point the camera, when to zoom, what to capture. He nodded, unfazed, like he'd seen worse. I brought Jessica in on the plan, briefing her over coffee in Eugene. You're my anchor, I told her. Stay neutral, smile, nod. Keep them calm. She grinned, her eyes glinting. I was born for this, Kate was the final piece. I called her, my words clipped. I need you at the dinner, disguised as waitstaff. You'll serve the paperwork. She didn't miss a beat. Send me the details. I prepared the envelope for Sarah: divorce papers, fraud accusations, copies of the bank transfers, all notarized and airtight. I worked with my lawyer, Rachel, to ensure every page was bulletproof. This is heavy, Rachel said, her voice low. You sure? I nodded, signing each document with a steady hand. I've never been sure. Kate sent me more that week. Forged signatures on the boutique's loan documents, emails between Sarah and Claire planning the transfers. I added them to the envelope, my evidence now a weapon. The night before the dinner, I sat in our living room in Springfield, the envelope labeled Sarah on the coffee table. The apartment was quiet, Sarah still at work, her scarf draped over a chair like a taunt. I didn't cry. I didn't waver. I slipped the envelope into my purse, zipped it shut, and stood. My reflection caught in the hallway mirror tired eyes, but sharp, alive. The next evening, I dressed with care. Black dress, fitted but not flashy. Red lipstick, bold but not loud. Simple silver earrings, nothing to distract. I wanted to look like a woman in control, not someone drowning in grief. I practiced my smile in the mirror, soft but unyielding like a blade wrapped in silk. I drove to Portland alone, the city lights blurring past. My phone buzzed. Jessica, checking in. You ready? She texted. I replied, born ready. At the restaurant, I walked in, my heels clicking on the polished floor. The space was perfect, intimate, the candles casting warm shadows. I greeted Carla with a nod, and she signaled the staff, some of them. Tom was in the corner, his camera discreet but ready. Kate stood by the bar, her waitstaff uniform crisp, her eyes meeting mine for a split second. I took a breath, my pulse steady despite the storm inside. The family would arrive soon, thinking this was a celebration. They'd walk in smiling, oblivious, their lies intact. But I'd planned every detail, every moment, down to the seating chart. This wasn't a birthday party. It was a trap, and I was the one setting it. I sat at the head of the table, my purse beside me, the envelope waiting. Let them come. I was ready. The restaurant glowed with candlelight, the air thick with the scent of rosemary and wine. My family trickled in, all smiles, oblivious to the storm I'd set in motion. Sarah kissed my cheek, her navy scarf brushing my shoulder. Happy birthday, she said, her voice warm. Claire hugged me next, her grip quick, cautious. You look great, she said, her eyes flicking away. Mom, Susan, handed me a gift bag, her smile motherly, practiced. You're radiant tonight, she said. I nodded, my own smile a perfect mask. Thank you. Dad, Michael, clapped my shoulder. Anna and Mark trailed in, chatting loudly, filling the space with noise. Jessica arrived last, her grin easy, neutral, just as we'd planned. We sat, the table a tight circle, their faces lit by flickering flames. I raised my glass, my voice steady. To family, I said. They echoed me, glasses clinking, unaware of the trap closing around them. Dinner started light, all small talk and laughter. Sarah sat to my right, her hand brushing mine, like we were still us. Claire sat across, her smile tight, avoiding my gaze. Susan poured wine, her chatter relentless, filling every silence. I played along, nodding, laughing, passing the bread. But my purse sat heavy beside me, the envelope inside like a loaded gun. Halfway through the main course, Sarah stood, glass in hand, her voice soft but clear. To Emily, she said, her eyes on me. A graceful, selfless, strong woman. I'm so lucky. The table clapped, their smiles wide, oblivious. I clinked my glass, my heart cold. Thank you, I said, then leaned toward Kate, disguised as a waiter, hovering nearby. We're ready, I whispered. She nodded, her face unreadable. Kate stepped forward, her voice cutting through the chatter. Sarah, she said, loud enough to freeze the room. Sarah blinked, confused. Yes. Kate handed her the envelope, her movements crisp. You've been served. Sarah's face paled, her fingers fumbling as she took it. What the hell is this? She muttered. I stood, my voice calm, deliberate. Divorce papers. And accusations of fraud, theft, embezzlement. The table went silent, forks clattering. Claire gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. What? She choked out. Sit down, I snapped, my eyes locking on hers. Susan stood, her voice sharp. Emily, what are you doing? I didn't flinch. Telling the truth. I signaled Tom, the videographer, and the projector hummed to life behind me. The screen lit up, hotel footage filling the room. Sarah and Claire in Astoria, laughing, touching, kissing in the elevator. Gasps rippled through the table. Then screenshots, bank transfers, $75,000 from our joint account to Claire's boutique. Emails between them, planning it all. And Susan's voice, cold and clear from the audio. We need to keep Emily under control. She can't find out about the trust fund. Susan's face drained of color. Turn that off, she hissed. No, I said, my voice steady. We're just getting started. I turned to Anna, her eyes wide. You covered for them. Lied to my face. She stammered, I didn't know. You did, I shot back. Then to Michael, shrinking in his chair. And you let them destroy me. You let this happen. He looked away, silent. I pulled another envelope from my purse, sliding it to Michael. What's this? He asked, his voice shaking. DNA test results, I said, my tone icy. You're not my biological father. Susan gasped, her hand clutching the table. Emily, how could you? I smiled, bitter. That's what happens when you lie for a living. The truth finds a way. The room froze, their faces a gallery of shock, guilt, fear. Claire's shoulders shook, her eyes wet. Sarah stared at the divorce papers, her hands trembling. I raised my glass again, my voice clear, cutting. Happy birthday to me. No one moved. The candles flickered, the only sound in the room. I leaned back, my eyes sweeping over them. I forgive you, I said, looking at Claire. She froze. For what? I tilted my head. You know. Anna cleared her throat, desperate. Maybe we should all calm down. I ignored her. Pretending is exhausting, I said. So let's be honest. I forgive you for sleeping with my wife. Sarah's head snapped up. That's not funny, Em. I'm not joking. Susan stood again, her voice shrill. Emily, enough. I smiled, unshaken. No, it's fine. I've made peace with it. I turned to the table, my voice rising. Here's to family, those who lie to your face and smile while they do it. I clinked my glass against Claire's, her hand limp. Jessica sipped her wine, her eyes gleaming, watching the chaos unfold. I stood, grabbing my purse, my heels steady on the floor. No more secrets, I said, my voice ringing. Jessica rose, falling in step beside me. Sarah called out, her voice breaking. Emily, you'll regret this. I stopped, glancing over my shoulder. No, I said, my eyes locking on hers. You will. We walked out, the door swinging shut behind us, the sound final, like a book slamming closed. Outside, the Portland air was cool, sharp. I leaned against the restaurant's brick wall, pulling out my compact mirror. Red lipstick still perfect, eyes clear, hands steady. I smiled, real this time. Happy birthday to me, I whispered, and snapped the mirror shut. The fallout came fast, like a fire catching dry grass. By the time I got home that night, my phone was buzzing missed calls from Sarah, Claire, Susan, even Anna, who hadn't called me in months. I didn't answer. I poured a glass of Merlot, kicked off my heels, and sat on the couch, the silence of my Springfield apartment wrapping around me. Jessica sprawled beside me, scrolling through her phone, her voice sharp with glee. It's already online, Em, she said, holding up a post from a local gossip blog. Portland restaurant scandal. Someone leaked it. I raised an eyebrow, sipping my wine. Who? She shrugged, smirking. Could be anyone. That videographer's lens caught everything. I nodded, the wine sharp on my tongue. Good. Let them talk. The next morning, I woke to a headline on my phone. Portland boutique owner embroiled in financial scandal linked to sister's wife. Claire's face stared back, her smile twisted under harsh flashbulbs. Sarah's name was bolded, tied to fraud allegations. My name stayed out of it, a shadow in the story, but anyone who knew us could connect the dots. I opened my email, finding a new file from Kate. Subject: Trust Fund. Inside were documents showing Susan had funneled money from my trust fund into a private account, with Sarah listed as a silent partner. All hidden, all illegal. I forwarded it to my lawyer, Rachel, my fingers steady. She replied within minutes, "This freezes the fund and opens a civil lawsuit." Ready? I typed back, "Light it up." Sarah's calls came all day, her texts a desperate stream. "We need to talk, Em. You're ruining everything." "I'm sorry." I let them pile up, unanswered. Claire sent an email, her words frantic. I didn't know about the money, I swear. Please stop this. I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to Claire's boutique with Jessica, the windows now covered in brown paper, a closed for renovation sign taped crookedly to the door. Jessica had started the foreclosure, her lease takeover ruthless. I used her key to step inside, the air stale, shelves half empty. A rack of dresses sagged in the corner, the scent of Claire's mango perfume lingering. In the back office, I found photos taped to the wall. Claire and Sarah on a pier, laughing, their arms around each other. I tore them down, one by one, and left. That evening, Sarah showed up at my door, her face drawn, eyes red. I cracked the door, just enough to see her. Please, she said, her voice breaking. I didn't mean for this to happen. I stared, unyielding. You made choices. She reached out, her hand trembling. I still love you. Doesn't that matter? I stepped closer, my voice low, cold. I loved myself. You were just collateral damage. She flinched, tears spilling. Claire's falling apart. She's not eating. You're destroying her. I laughed, sharp and bitter. She destroyed herself. And you helped. Sarah's shoulders slumped. You're not the woman I married. I leaned in, my eyes locked on hers. Thank God. She turned, stumbling down the stairs, and I closed the door, the lock clicking with finality. The next day, I drove to Susan's house in Salem, unannounced. She opened the door, her silk robe loose, eyes swollen, the living room a mess of papers and empty wine glasses. Well, if it isn't the executioner, she said, her voice dripping with venom. Don't start, I said, stepping inside. She gestured to the chaos. Michael's gone. Moved out. Says he's ashamed. I nodded, unmoved. He should be. Her face twisted. You think you're so righteous, Emily. Better than us. I shook my head, my voice steady. No. I'm just the one who didn't lie. She sank onto the couch, suddenly older, smaller. You ruined us. I looked at her, unflinching. You ruined yourselves when you chose Claire over me. Her voice cracked. What do you want? I met her eyes. Nothing. I came to say goodbye. She froze, her breath catching. You don't mean that. I do, I said and walked out, the door closing softly behind me. That night, Jessica and I sat on my balcony, the Portland skyline glittering below. You burned it all down, she said, clinking her wine glass against mine. How's it feel? I thought for a moment, the cool air sharp in my lungs. Like breathing after a decade underwater. She grinned. That's my girl. I smiled, the weight lifting, my heart finally free. The city hummed below, alive, and for the first time, I felt like I was too. The cafe was a quiet nook in a Eugene bookstore where whispers felt sacred, even when they weren't needed. I sat across from Jessica, a steaming latte between us, my fingers tracing the cup's rim. She leaned forward, her voice low. You sure about this, Em? I nodded, my resolve like stone. It's time. She reached into her bag, pulling out a small black flash drive. Everything's here. Audio, documents, the timeline, all polished. I took it, slipping it into my purse. Thanks. You're still doing the podcast, right? She grinned, her eyes bright. First episode drops next week. Titles locked. Teams ready. I managed a smile, though it didn't reach my heart. It's gonna shake things up. Jessica nodded, catching the shadow in my eyes. You okay? I paused, honest. I'm adjusting. She squeezed my hand. That part's hard. We sat in silence, the bookstore's hum wrapping around us. Then she spoke, casual but pointed. Ran into Mark at the market yesterday. I raised an eyebrow. Yeah. He saw me, then bolted into the frozen aisle like I was contagious. I laughed, sharp and real. Coward. Jessica stirred her tea, smirking. Oh, and Anna got canned. Her firm cut her loose after the scandal hit. I shrugged, my voice flat. That's a shame. She glanced at me, then dropped her voice. Susan's gone quiet, huh? Probably licking her wounds. I nodded, my jaw tight. She'll spin it, like always. Jessica leaned back. You're done with that game. I met her eyes. Long done. I left the cafe, the Oregon air crisp, the city's pulse loud around me. At home, I opened my laptop, the podcast site glowing. The teaser was already buzzing online. People loved a messy family saga, especially when it was true. I skimmed the comments. Some cheered, some doubted, a few stung. I didn't care. I plugged in the flash drive, uploaded the first episode. My voice filled the room, steady, clear. Hi, I'm Emily, and this is the story of a family who watched me sink and smiled as I drowned. I listened for a minute, then closed the laptop. The doorbell rang, sharp and unexpected. I froze, my pulse quickening. I opened the door, and there was Claire, no makeup, hair pulled back, eyes swollen. She held an envelope, her hands trembling. Can I come in? She asked, her voice small. I didn't move. I'm not here to fight, she said quickly. I just wrote this. She held out the envelope. I took it, my fingers cold, but didn't step aside. I don't expect you to read it, she said, her voice breaking. I just had to get it out. I nodded once, curt. She turned, walking down the stairs, her steps slow, fragile. I closed the door, the lock clicking. The envelope sat on the counter, a ticking bomb. I stared at it, my heart pounding, then carried it to the sink. I struck a match, the flame hissing to life. The paper caught fast, curling black, the words inside burning before I could glimpse them. I dropped it into the sink, turned on the faucet, and watched the ashes swirl away. Some truths didn't need reading. They just needed to die. The next morning, I walked through Eugene, no phone, no music, just the rhythm of my shoes on the pavement. I passed Claire's boutique, its windows dusty, a faded, closed sign dangling. I didn't stop. At the park, I sat on a bench, watching a girl chase a squirrel, her laughter bright, her mom calling after her with a smile. I didn't cry. I didn't ache. I just watched, my heart quiet, steady. Back home, a box waited on my doorstep, no name, no address. I brought it inside, opened it carefully. A photo album, old family pictures and Clara's kids, birthday cakes, Christmas lights. A note on the first page in Susan's handwriting, keep the good parts. I closed it, my fingers lingering, then set it on the hallway shelf. Not to forgive, not to forget, but to mark that I'd survived. That night, I uploaded the second podcast episode about gaslighting, about how lies make you doubt your own name. I ended it simply. Healing isn't always peace. Sometimes, it's just finding your voice. I turned off the lights, climbed into bed, and stared at the ceiling. No more masks. No more shrinking to fit their comfort. I didn't need their apologies or their understanding. I just needed me. And now I had her. I closed my eyes, the darkness soft, and for the first time, I slept free.